What is the since we're on the Greg school of thought, what is the Greg's how does Greg Stone, if you go up there and you don't do well,
Mhm.
what is the post bomb routine or the vice or the comfort that you have? Do you have a ritual? And if so, what is it? And if not, what do you do to sort of shake yourself out of that?
So it's funny. Reality is I'll usually there's a couple of things, but what I do notice I do sometimes is if it's a real bad show and I'm driving home, I will stop into a Dwayne Reed and buy an action figure. That's my little dopamine drip. As you can see behind me, I have bombed many times. Uh, I will buy an action figure. Sometimes it used to be food or it was like just eating, but none of that is good. But the reality is where I'm at now is after a bomb, it's I try to just like the right thing to do is to not look at it as a bomb, right? It's like, what did you learn from this situation and get back into take the crowd out of it. What jokes, what did you learn from the situation? How to do that? And I know it's weird to say, but like after bombs, I do care, but it's not that I don't care anymore, but I don't, it's like you bomb, you do well enough in your life. The reality is at some point in your comedy career, you have to start believing you're good at this. You have
Mhm.
to. And I think a lot of us just refuse to just accept that. We just want to hate ourselves. We want to stop believing that we're good. But at some point, you have to just fucking go, no, fuck you. I am good at this. Um, so if that didn't go my way, that does not mean I'm not good. That does not mean I wasted my life. It just means you something didn't work. So for me, it's like the ritual is like for me, it's not. I won't bombs won't bother me so much as bad crowd interactions will bother me, or worse is dealing with shitty bookers or shitty comics. That's the stuff that like I walk away from like angry about. Like why the fuck these people when I hate doubt humanity. That's or if I do it, yeah, I guess yeah, if I do a joke that's new and I'm really excited about it bombs, and that's like maybe yeah. So I'll buy some action figures or go eat. That's really what I do to answer your question in not
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Let me ask you a couple, two more things before we get out of here.
Yeah.
The first thing is, you're talking about sort of maybe the bomb isn't like this big thing, and you're trying to learn from it. And I think that is sort of a peace of mind that a lot of comics are trying to get to. And it might not be permanent. It might be just a couple weeks you're in that headspace.
Right.
Um, do you remember sort of you're also at the point of your career where a bomb that you would have experienced in year 3 or year 6 or whatever
Mhm.
it is a lot different from the situation you're in now. So what was the last situation that you can remember, where maybe it's you're playing at a higher stakes table, you
Mhm.
know, and where you go, this has to go well. This really has to go well. This is a different. We're in a different stadium here,
Right.
and it doesn't. And you go, oh boy. Like, have you had anything like that?
Yeah. Real quick, I do want to just add something to the last part.
Mhm.
And this is what makes the most sense for me is that like bombing for me isn't the crowd not doing well, it's me not being me. I've had
Okay.
sets where I've crushed, but I knew I was talking too fast, I was too anxious, I wasn't in the pocket. And to me, that's a bomb because I wasn't
Yeah.
like being me. And I've had bombs where no one has laughed, but I was like slow and good. And I was like, man, I was fucking funny tonight. Like, I don't care. So I just want to clarify that's I will get on myself when I for a bomb when I, either sell out or I'm just not prepared or I forget some like, I don't know the jokes or whatever. That's a bomb for me. Now to go back to what you're saying, where it's like, um, when it was, when I was in like a higher stakes
High
situation.
stakes. Yeah.
Yeah. The last, I haven't really, the high stakes situations for me have never led to any success. So like Montreal, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not being whatever. I have destroyed 8, 9, 10 Montreal auditions. Never gotten them. Never gotten Montreal. Killed and just nothing. And that's happened to me with a lot of showcases. Destroy. Nothing comes of it. Right. So those things I don't believe in those high stake things anymore. But there was one that, geez, I don't even tell you this. So it was literally, it was a booker. I wanted to do this bar show, and the booker of the bar show was there. This is like 10, 15 years ago. And um, I'm doing my set, having a good time. Woman stands up and I'm trying not to do the bit because I did turn this into a bit. Woman stands up and she goes, "Hey, you're not funny." And I went, "Fuck you, I went, "Fuck you, you cunt." And then the whole crowd went, Jesus Christ. Like the whole crowd turned on me. They were like, "Did you just call that woman a cunt?" And then I was like, "Yeah, I called her a cunt, and you're a fucking cunt too." And then I started, so in front of this booker who I was trying to impress, it was a bar show of 8 people. I
Oh
called
my
everyone. I was
god.
like, "Fuck you, you fucking cunt, you fucking," and I lost it on all of these people, walked off stage, swiped my Metro card to get on the train, and went, "Nah, fuck that." Went back to those people who were at the table, and I went, "Let me fucking tell you why you're a fucking piece of shit. You're not fucking," and I got back in, like, the bartender was like, "Dude, you gotta go." Like, that, what I flipped on these people. Like, that was, and so I got to a point in my career now where I go, like, that will never happen again because I don't get that mad. What I do though is I have 2 rules for hecklers. One, if I'm doing a free show and it shouldn't be happening and the crowd sucks, I just leave. I've done sets at shows where I went on, I was like, "How's everyone doing?" And they go, "Huh," and I went, "Well, I'm not being paid for this, so I'm going to go. So thank you guys." And I go, "Sorry, buddy," and I give them a minute and a half and I leave, because if they don't want to be here, then why am I doing this for you? You know, it's a free show and you don't appreciate that I got on a train to be here. Well, then buffungle to you. You don't get the amount of time I've put into this business for that kind of free reaction. So I go, "See you later." The second thing I have is when hecklers, but hecklers a lot of times believe if they heckle you, you'll come back with something funny and then that'll make the show better. But now I just do a thing where I don't, if you heckle, I don't try to be funny. Like I was doing it was a McDougal Comedy Club or whatever it was, and not good. I go on, I'm doing a guest spot, free. They're not paying me. I go on, lady goes, just screams like, "You're fat," or something. I forgot what she said. And I went, "Shut up, ugly." And then she was like, "You call me ugly?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're ugly on the outside. You're ugly on the inside." And then her husband stands up and goes, "Hey man, you can't call my wife ugly." And I went, "Oh, fuck you and fuck your ugly wife." And I put the microphone in and I left. And then part of me was like, yeah, none of that was funny. But you don't get to attack me and then get funny back. You get that. You get horrendous. Like, you get that. Also, the club wasn't paying me and the club wasn't doing anything. So it was like, "No, you guys don't. You got 3 minutes of a set." Like, I was like, "You get 3 minutes and I leave." Um, so I don't even remember what the hell you asked, but that's just a bunch of other words.
No, I think it's all leading to the same thing.
Yeah.
I'll say this briefly. It, what clubs are the place where you go, and it's not this way sometimes. And there are some fantastic clubs out there that I think,
Mhm.
you know, but you go to some of these clubs, whether you're in New York, you're on the road, wherever you are, and you're like, "Are you sure you want me here? Like,
Right.
am I really by myself in this situation?" You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and it's such a jarring feeling, I think, for me, where you're like, "God, I can't believe I'm getting no support from
Right.
this place. This whole place as an entity will not support me
Yeah.
in this moment." You know.
Not even in the moment, in general. I mean, I've done clubs in, like, the middle of nowhere where, like, you get there, the manager doesn't come and say hello, so you're just sitting in a green room. It's like, "Is this happening tonight?" No waiter or waitress comes in to offer you food, and then you go on stage and no one's regulating uh anything. I've been telling this story. I got two, if you don't mind, I have two things I kind of wanted to tell you about that I think are kind of
Please.
ridiculous. This I was at Mohegan Sun, and there's the manager slash bouncer there. It's this really sweet guy named Andy, and he goes, "Hey man, crowd is a little crazy tonight. So if you need me to throw anyone out, just say you need a Pepsi, right? That's like the code. Say I need a Pepsi, and they'll throw the guy out." And I said, I'm not saying that." And he goes, "What are you gonna say?" I go, "You'll know what I said." So I get on stage, just as you think. Some guy stands up and he goes, says something, and I just went, seize him. That's what I was like. That's going to be my new how to throw a guy out. I said, seize this man. And then they was like, seize him? I was like, I always want to do like a king. And then we had the crowd. We all shamed him. I was, everyone, shame him. Shame. We all shamed. And Andy came and seized him. And I was like, seize him works way better than get me a Pepsi. And I've always wanted to say seize him because no one says seize him anymore. And then the second part, this is also the same club. Drunk woman. This is one of the worst responses I've ever had in crowd history. I do a joke that I don't love. It's very old. It's about when I used to work in an ER, and in an ER late at night, you'd constantly have people come in because they put something up their butt or in their vagina. That happens. You get guys stuck in shit in their ass. And I always love talking to people who work in healthcare because they all have a story. They all have one. So it's always great, like crowd work, to be like, okay, you work in an ER. What's the craziest thing you've ever seen in somebody's body? And people will go, toy car or cucumber. So I go, hey, I go, room of ER nurses. There's like 3 or 4 of them sit next to each other. And I go, what's the craziest thing you've seen in somebody's body? And the woman goes, cancer. And I went, what the fuck, lady? Like, cancer, you said? Like, she just went, meh. And I at first took it and I went, oh, you have a dark sense of humor. That's hilarious. That's hilarious that you said cancer. And then the crowd was like, no, it's not funny. And I was like, no, fuck all you guys. That is funny. She can make those jokes because ER nurses have a dark sense of humor because this is what they have to deal with. And then she goes, I wasn't joking. Do you think cancer isn't the worst thing in someone's body? And I went, what are we doing here, man? Like, I was like, I don't know how I responded, but it was like, that was one of the, is like, what are you doing out here? Like, that wasn't, what are you adding to life that you're going to say cancer? Right. And I was like, man, you hit me right. It's just sandbag right in my face. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And I tried to get her out of it too. Like, it's a dark joke. You did it. And she went, nope, I wasn't a joke. You don't think cancer is a bad thing. It's like, I'm like, you're out of your fucking mind, lady.
Oh my God.
Right.
That is insane.
Right. Could you imagine saying that? Why would you say that? But she's drunk and she's not funny and she needs people to make her laugh. So like, she doesn't know those aren't things you say in society.
Right. But it's also a little bit of like general rule of society of like, keep it light, just keep it light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It works for comedians, waiters, everyone follows those rules. Keep it light.
Keep it light. Man. Oh my God. Greg, let me ask you as we wrap up here. You seem, as talking to you, you seem like you are at a place mentally as a comic where a lot of comics aspire to be and hope to be, where you sort of have this, I hate to use the word zen, but a little bit of sort of zen around it, where you go, I'm confident in myself, and if this doesn't work, I will figure out why. And you've sort of seemed at peace with that. What do you think that you've picked up from? Maybe it's all up until last year. Who knows when you find it? But what do you think you picked up from all of the time put in before that has helped you get to that place?
Well, I think it's a few things. One is it's the Andy Dufresne, time and pressure, right? Just enough bomb. Well, it was one thing I said to myself that went, why do you keep coming up? Why are you so mean to yourself? Right. I have this saying I say to younger comics, which is always, you're not big enough to cut yourself down. Right. Because you get a lot of young comics and they're like, I'm not funny. And this is why that work. And I go, like they're afraid of having an ego. So they'll shut themselves down. I go, you're not big enough to do that. So you need to start having not an ego, but you need to have confidence. You need to believe in yourself. You're doing this. And the thing I said to myself years ago was I went, it doesn't matter if I'm a hack or if I'm not good at this. I'm never going to quit. And so once I came to those terms, it was like, yeah, I'm okay if I'm a hack and I'm okay with not being good at this because it does not matter. The end is the same. I will continue to do this. Once I did that, I started, comedy started getting easier. Comedy started being like, yeah, quitting's not an option. And you can't second guess everything thinking, is it hacky? Is it not hacky? Is it this? Is like, just be funny and have a good time. because it's not worth it to do anything else. And none of the beating yourself up isn't going to change the outcome. The beating yourself up isn't going to make, I know I'm not going to quit. So why beat myself up to try to, should I not be doing this? It's like, you're going to do it. So why all the taking yourself down? And I had crippling low self-esteem, for a very long time. And then I realized that was me fighting having an ego. Like, I was afraid of having a giant ego. But I just realized it's like, stop it. All the thing to get to a Zen place wasn't learning anything. It was letting go. It was letting go of being incredibly mean to myself all of the time and realizing none of those things. Like, I always say, there's this guy, Larry. Larry is the guy in your head who walks in and goes, hey, you're not funny enough. You're not good enough. This isn't good. And so it's acknowledging Larry. And when I get off stage and someone goes, and I hear and go, see, you've never been good. I go, Larry, I appreciate what you're doing. You're trying to protect me, but you're not helping. I'm not going to listen to you right now. So you identify Larry and you let him go. And just a fun addition to that is I had a hard time sitting and writing. And my therapist was like, why do you think that is? And I go, I don't know. I'm lazy. And she goes, I think it's because Larry, when you're sitting alone, you're sitting with Larry, who is beating you up. But when you're on stage, because I said, like, I write jokes better on stage, you have the crowd cheering you on. So you come up with a million ideas and it's all supportive. But when you're by yourself, you just with Larry, who's sitting there being like, yeah, that's not good. That'll never be good. You're not funny. So you need to start talking to Larry and tell him to get the fuck out of there and start. You need to root for yourself. You have to there's so many comedians in this fucking business who are so good, but they just refuse to believe in themselves. And that was me for a long time. And I realized it's just much easier to love yourself, and you will have a better time in life and on stage. If you look at the number, just look at the numbers, right? Look at the numbers. You go, when I go on stage, do you get laughs? Yes. Okay. You're getting more laughs than you did a year ago? Yes. Okay, then this isn't a thing that you get to be subjective about. The numbers are adding up that you are good at this, right? But you go, oh, but I didn't get a late night. Okay, but what did you get, right? Write down the things write down every achievement, and then write down things you want. And then you will notice that the achievements board might not be filling itself out, but the things you got is going to be huge. And then one day you're going to look at that achievements board, and you're going to knock like half of it out in like a month. Everything will just fucking come out of nowhere. But you had to wait for that. So it's like, write down the achievements, and then those are the facts. And you go, well, I did these. These facts prove that I'm good at this. It's no longer subjective. So take that, listen to it, believe it, and let go. Let go of the people, let go of the abuse of yourself, and then fucking have a good time. It's a great job. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. We're talking to Steven Rogers about, I think we're very similar in our headspaces, and how we have this ability to go, well, I don't have that, I don't have that, I don't have that. And you go, well, why don't you put yet at the end of that sentence? We have this ability to where we go, I don't have it, and because I don't have it, I'm a failure. Well, maybe you just say, I don't have that yet. It's a completely different outlook.
You have no control over people giving you things.
Mm-hmm.
So stop trying to control those things. What you do have control over things is you can do yourself, right? And Greg Warren said this to me, which was a long time ago, which I thought was great. He was like, the wins aren't getting a late night set. The win is, did you write a new joke? Did you figure out that angle? Are people laughing, right? Because look at my career, right? I've been doing comedy almost 20 fucking years, and all of the things I've wanted, I did not get, okay? Mm-hmm. I said, if I don't get on Conan by the time I'm 30, I'm quitting. I'm almost 40. Never happened, right? Never got a late night. Never did a half hour. Never got offered whatever. But I, on the side, have a podcast where there's a guy in Australia who has a tattoo of a character I created, right? But that wasn't on the board, so I don't count it. But it's like, no, you created something that a person put on their body. So like, why are we sitting here like, you didn't get a late night? That doesn't even move the fucking needle, right?
Right.
Comedy and success, being good at comedy and success do not go hand in hand. So you can be good at comedy and be broke, right? So then all you have to figure out is the money part. But like, yeah, I mean, dude, a half hour, we know how this business works, all right? This business works is they don't care about substance first. It's just the reality. They care about, can you get us money? Can you make us look good? Can we do these, like, you know, Netflix is going to give the special to the woman with 1 billion Netflix followers or Instagram followers. That's going to happen. You're not competing with her. So the person you're competing with is yourself. Are you talking about what you want to be talking about? Even if I never made $1 in this business again, am I talking about what I want to talk about? Am I am I being funny to the best of my abilities? Well, then that's fucking successful. And you can get money from other places, right? But I still have a day job. Yeah, so is Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart isn't making his main money from stand-up. Kevin Hart is an actor on the side, right? Just because you work at Red Lobster, the fuck, it's just a different job. You know what I mean? So it's realizing what in this business actually makes you successful. And the reality is it's much simpler. The simplicity of it is are you working to the best of your abilities, and are you making yourself happy? Are you happy? It's like, that's what you need to work on. Sorry, I feel like I'm very caffeinated up, and I'm just.
I love it. I feel like I could do this all night. It's an absolute pleasure to well, comics that it's hard to find comics that will openly discuss being happy with themselves. It's such a thing that is hard to find with some people, but so it's a pleasure when you can hear comics speak, um, give you some hope in this art, because it's so easy to talk to
Right.
comics, and when you get off the phone with them, you go, "What are we doing? What are we doing in this business?"
Well, see, that's the thing, dude. And I want to say this to you, man, is that it becomes the norm to beat yourself up, to hate yourself, to be miserable. And the reality is we need to stop that, because I spent a very long time not happy with those things, and it's not fucking worth it. And I never got those things that I thought the abuse of myself would lead to. And once I start, and when I started doing well, when I started being happy, when I started actually being like comfortable and happy, really the thing that changed it for me was money. Because once I got a writing job that I wasn't going from, like, just if I get overdrafted in my account, I'm not eating next week. So the big thing is, like, just, if you got to need a day job, you got a day job. Just make sure you have enough money to eat, and do comedy, and just do it. Just do it. It doesn't matter. If you can feed yourself, it doesn't matter. If you're doing comedy and you're paying your bills from comedy, that's cool, but that doesn't mean you're not a comedian. You're a comedian when you start doing comedy. That's all that you do. There's so many bad comedians, right? So I don't know, man. I do think that we have to make happiness a little bit more like being happy and comfortable with yourself, and making sure you're working on your mind. We have to put that in the forefront for a lot of this stuff, because sorry, man, once I got to the top, not that I got to the top, once I started being around people at the top, you start realizing a lot of them are miserable. A lot of them they're at the top because they're psychotic about getting to the top, and they don't go home to someone who loves them or actually genuinely cares. You go, oh, I don't want to be that, and I'm not going to do that I'm not going to kill myself to get there, because I don't want to be that person. Right. So you just got to work on being happy. It doesn't really
Yeah,
matter.
I mean, you have said it. You see people, you interact with people that where if you didn't know the next level of them, you go, man, I wish I had what they had,
Right.
you
Right.
know? And
Right.
then you start talking to them, or you start seeing how they live their life. You go, oh my God, this is how does a person live like this? How they're manic, they're neurotic, they're paranoid, they're addicted to something, and you go, I couldn't do this. I
Yeah.
couldn't live like that.
I don't want to
You
name
know?
names, but there's a specific comic who I'm like is a legend. And he gets off, it's, I hate this, I hate that, this sucks. And I go, you're here and you're not happy, man. Like, I feel bad. That's sad. But that formula never checked on, never, finding that, like, and sure, it drove him to be one of the best, but it's like, do you want to live? You can still be one of the best and not live like that. You can still be unbelievable. And like I was saying, like, I mean, one of the biggest moments in my life was when I got past the Comedy Cellar. I walked in and Colin Quinn goes, "Hey, Greg, man, really funny stuff. Sit down." And I went, "Why does this guy know my name? Why is he so nice?" And you realize, you go like, and then I was like, part of me was like, maybe because I'm that good. And everybody's, no, it's not because of me. It's because that's how he lives his life. He enjoys comedy. He's, like, there are a million comics out there who are really great, nice people, but you don't see them like Ray Romano, one of the sweetest people I'd ever met. And you just go like, you don't hear about them. You don't really, Ray Romano is
Right.
unbelievably successful, right? But you don't look at him as this guy who is like killed to get on top. So you just think it doesn't exist. But it's like, nah, man, a lot of these guys are really happy and nice, but you don't, they're not allowed about it. The squeaky wheel doesn't, doesn't get the oil. So you just kind of like think it doesn't exist. But like, be one of those, be Ray Romano.
Right, right. Yes, exactly. We love to look at this business. I think sometimes it romanticize its ability to be cutthroat, and you go, "Well, I have to do that." Where it's actually probably a detriment because the comics that we work with, the comics that we like the most, are the people that we enjoy
Hmm.
their time, where we enjoy their company, and where the act adds up to where you're off stage and go, "Yeah, they're great people." It's I always think it's like you always, like you said, you have to strive to be funny. That's the goal. But you could be like B plus funny and a really nice person. And it's way easier if I'm producing a show to book that person than somebody who's maybe A minus funny and a real piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be, it's harder to be like, you have to be so funny, so incredibly, breathtakingly, side splitting funny to be a real piece of shit,
Yeah.
and get away with it. Like there are some people where like, yeah, they don't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to them. But man, do they kill, you know?
Right. I mean, but why? I mean, like, why? I mean, why? I mean, I
Right,
understand. There's a difference, right? There is a difference of guys who are just like a little introverted and they don't want to talk, and like, I get that. That doesn't really bother me. But like,
right,
the piece of shit guys, it usually comes from ego, and what we know about ego, 99% of the time is it's their own self insecurities or whatever. But like, you have this ego, and the reality is like, what makes you, why do you? I'm very into like the there's no real free will and all that shit of like you're only here because you've had enough luck. You've had a bunch of things that have lined up for you. I know a ton of, and I believe that I'm one of them, ultra funny people who haven't had a series of giant wins, right? Like if you would have put me in your track, I would have these number of people too, right? It's like there's a ton of funny people that just don't have those wins. So it's like, so the fact that you have this ego, you believe you're better, but you're not better than other people. Like you don't even like you can't even keep a girlfriend or like you're shitty to other people. It's like that doesn't you're very we have so I sorry, like there's these different levels of things. It's like you're just extremely good at one thing. That doesn't make you better than me. There's 50 other things that like I'm I'm excelling at, which is like being an easy person to talk to, trying to help other people, like and it's like and I'm great at comedy, and I'm look, I'm not trying to sound, I know I have a fear of ego, so I'm not trying to sound like I'm great. I do know I'm very good at this, and I refuse to stop saying that to myself. I am good at this, so I don't care. But it's like just because you're great at this, you suck at everything else. So it's like, well,
right.
you're not better than me. You're just good at comedy. I don't know if that makes sense. It's just like a weird thing that it makes me crazy to
I
see these
think it
people
does
who do
make
this.
sense. I mean, you can still work on yourself as a person and also be very funny.
Yeah,
There's no reason why you have to sacrifice your life outside of comedy,
right.
in some sense, to think that you need to be this horrible person to be
Well,
funny.
I guess the idea I'm trying to push is the idea that if you're just because you're this like mega success, it's not because you're better than other people, right?
Right,
It's as a, like on anything, it's you've had luck. And even if you're like, well, because I worked hard, yeah, well, something in your life clicked that made you know to work this hard, right?
right,
That is even luck. All of it is luck. Where it's like, well, I've just born funny. Well, then that's genetics. You were lucky to have the genetics to be that. So stop acting like you earned anything, because 90% is you earning it. Like it's like what the fuck, you know what I mean? You were everything can be boiled down to some sort of luck, and the ball in the pinball machine only goes to where the bouncers push it, and that's what I believe we are as humans, right? There was something in you that allowed you to be funny. When it's ADHD, you were molested, like and it's weird to be molested, that's your fucking luck, but it's like, yeah, you were lucky enough to have these things. And like, maybe other people are lazy. It's like, well, they're not lazy. They didn't have the person in their life to click to push them on how to work. So stop
Right.
acting like you've earned anything, because you didn't. It's all a series. I'm sorry. One other point about this, it drives me crazy, because the doctors I used to work with in the ER were like this. They'd be like, well, I worked to be a doctor. It's like, well, you had parents who were able to put you through school. If you didn't, you had drive to put yourself. But you think you work harder than the guy sweeping the floor, because he works the same amount of hours, waits, and then his work goes on when he gets home, because he doesn't have money to pay his kids, and it never turns off. So it's like, stop acting like your hard work did this. It wasn't hard work. It was, yes, sure, it was hard work, but it's like, people are suffering all around you, and how come we don't count that as, those people are working just as hard in life, just
Right.
lucky enough to have the thing to push them to get the things that you got.
Yeah, exactly. We don't count that as the same effort,
Right.
or and that's nuts. Greg, this is one of my favorite conversations I've had with a comic on this, and I can't thank you enough for
Oh,
doing
thanks.
this. If anybody, for maybe one or two people that are listening to this and don't know about your podcast, please tell them where to find it.
Oh yeah, check out my podcast with the Rad Dude Cast. It's just a funny podcast I do with the comedian Anthony DeVito and Brendan Ayer. I would I would love to have you check out my Instagram. I need to get to 10,000 Instagram followers, because I'm trying to get videos on Instagram. So even if you don't like me, follow me on Instagram, Greg F. Stone, because I need 10,000 followers so that I can start putting videos up on in my story. So I would be very appreciative of that. Anyway, and it's all good. But dude, thank you, Collin, for having me. I had a great conversation. I know you said you only wanted to do a half hour, but I kept you for an hour and 9 minutes.
Yeah,
Because
well, it
that's just
was a
how I do it.
pleasure. It's I love that. I love when the guests can come on and take over the ship. It's a lot easier for me, because then sometimes you say we'll do a half hour, and then at 9 minutes you go, well, this will be a long 21 minutes left.
Right.
And then when 30 minutes kicks in, you go, well, there's nothing left in the tank for both of us. But this is a pleasure, because we could have kept going, I think. But I really appreciate your time, man.